What's up, Transformers fans? Mondo here. It's Sunday once again, and that means it's time for another episode of Moonbase 84's year-long celebration of Grimlock and the Dinobots. And today we're going to be checking out the Transformers animated Deluxe class Swoop. Before we get into today's video, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's taken the time to subscribe, and I've gotten quite a bit of uptick in subscriptions lately, which is awesome, as well as more comments coming in, which I love. I love interacting with you guys. That's what the fandom to me is all about, talking to people about the thing we love, Transformers. And if you're new to the channel and this is your first time, if you could hit that like button, subscribe, and all that jazz, I would really appreciate it. Now, those of you who have been following our 40-year celebration of Grimlock and the Dinobots might have noticed the trend. It started off, I did, first video was G1 Grimlock, but then I wanted to highlight G1 Snarl because that's a figure I never had growing up, and I recently acquired him, so I wanted to show him off. So at that point I was like, well, maybe I should just do a figure each week, start off the whole thing of each of the 5 main Dinobots. So that's what we're doing. Last week we did Cyberverse Slug, so now we're going to do animated Swoop, and next week we'll bring Sludge into the mix. Now, I really love the Transformers animated show as well as the animated toys. It did take me a while to get used to the aesthetic of animated, but the story that was told was really cool. It was flipped around a little bit on its head about, where people were, normal characters, legacy characters fell in within that story. But yeah, I was psyched because they brought in the Dinobots, obviously, and I really loved how they did the Dinobots. And I love the Dinobot figures. So here we have Swoop spinning around, and we're going to take a closer look at him first in his Pteranodon mode. And right off the bat, I've always loved how he could stand like this in Pteranodon mode. There are some Swoops and other like flying dinosaur type characters that have trouble standing like this, and some of them can but don't look that great. I think he looks pretty cool. I mean, I know a Pteranodon wouldn't stand we would guess that it probably wouldn't stand straight up like that, but I like for display ability wise that he can. You can also, it's all due to articulation, you can also get him, kind of in a, I guess you'd say, kind of more traditional pose. He does have he's ball jointed, so sometimes they get weak, but you can get him, kind of like that, which is cool. And as we take a look, the great thing about the animated figures, the animated toys, was how well they were able to translate those unique designs to toy form, and Swoop is no different. I love his head, and of course you got like the gold beak and then the red crest. Nice clean, he's very clean. Nice clean underbelly. You got the blues playing off the grays with the golds. Some nice techie detail for the wings, and a really well done Pteranodon mode. And he's fairly articulated, as I can go like that. You can open his beak. The one thing I would say that kind of annoying, that his head, which is his robot head here, likes to pop out. You can mess with the wings, flap them. They do come unpegged sometimes when you do that, but that is okay. You can get some get on camera, some flapping motion. So yeah, nicely articulated. I mean, you can move his legs all around. The back of his wings do plug into the back of his legs, so you can't really spread them without breaking transformation, but they can swivel. And his feet, his nice clawed talons, can move all over. A little bit of rock. So yeah, like I said, fairly articulated. And as you see, this one popped out too when I was flapping the wings, but that is okay, as I said in my book. So really, always loved how the animated Swoop figure came out. And again, they just did a fantastic job back then translating those unique Transformers animated designs into toy form. Like I said, he does get a little weak in his joints, so you got to mess with him, but he does stand. And of course you can pose him so he can be like in a flight mode. Now, as usual, I'm going to go ahead and transform Swoop here off camera, and we will take a closer look at robot mode. So here's Swoop in robot mode, and I'll say again, I really love the design that they went with for Swoop in Transformers Animated and with this toy. I just love like he's very thin. He has a very thin look as opposed to like the boxy G1 design. I'm glad they switched up the looks in that aspect of him. And he just looks really, really cool. We're gonna take a closer look. And to me, I love his head, his face. Again, it's just like in the show, but to me, like when you see him standing there in the show, he doesn't speak. Only Grimlock speaks. But even in the show, you look at him, the design they went with. To me, he looks like he'd be like the smart one, the intelligent one, the plotter. Someone you wouldn't want to match wits with because he has a strategy and he has a little mean streak to him as well, and I love that look. And of course you get more gold on the top of his head, and then the back of his head of course is the Pteranodon crest, and then you have the Pteranodon head for his chest. You get some nice blue with some black accents, the gold, the nice Autobot symbol. And again, I love the thin design of him. He's a Pteranodon. He's not supposed to be big and bulky, or you wouldn't think. There is some like musculature, some thin. He's very wiry. And then of course the grays and the blues, once again, and the golds really pop and are really nice. And then his wings peg in and they form like a cape. So and with the cape and this piece here that looks like a collar in the back of his head, he looks very put together, like seriously, like he knows what he's doing. He's very intelligent, calculating, but like presents himself with like a, I don't know, I guess you'd say like a regal mannerism, very full of himself in a way, you know, but it's just an awesome design. He articulates really well. His head turns, looks up a little bit, but that collar piece kind of prevents him from looking up all the way, but you can shift because it's on a ball that goes everywhere to look up like that, and he can look all the way down into his chest, a tiny bit of tilt. His arms, you know, articulate everywhere. What is he? Oh, it's this spike crashes on the wing, but on the ball here it goes everywhere. You could unplug that, I guess, and free that up more. He's got a nice elbow bend if I have it in the right direction. No wrist. I always want it to be a wrist because my brain thinks it is, but it does hinge, but it doesn't swivel. He does have waist. He can do this. Well, no, he can't do the splits. He's very ball jointed, but some things crash into each other, but that's good enough for my purposes, I think. He has a nice knee bend, and then he's got a swivel at that knee. Oh, get in on camera. And then his legs or his ankles go way back, forward. No, well, a little, yep, tilt because of that ball. First I couldn't get it. Swivel. His feet can go like that too. They can have plugs. I just noticed that. I wonder why they have plugs. Interesting. Huh. I did not notice that before. I wonder why those plug. Anyway, there's nothing in like that I ever recalled that uses the plug. Comment to let me know if you know why he has those plugs in his feet. He does come with an accessory that we haven't looked at yet, and that is his, I have to reach over and grab it, his mace, which is on a chain. It's in gray plastic, but then you have like this orange paint and translucent plastic, because the Dinobots, especially in animated, were all about bringing the heat. So that's really cool. And then to have Swoop hold it, this can be a little tricky. You can get him to hold it, but it gets finicky. But he does hold it. And it is kind of heavy, so it does want to pull him off to the side. But yeah, really cool. Really proper to me that he has a mace weapon. I don't know, it just fits his whole aesthetic. So that is my look at the Transformers animated Deluxe class Swoop. And even though you can get him into dynamic poses, he doesn't really need to be, just because of his aesthetic and vibe he gives off. He's just standing there with his mace, plotting, very cynical, just waiting for you to make a mistake, or ready to tell Grimlock what their move should be. I know that doesn't really fit with the canon of the animated Dinobots, but that is the vibe he gives off to me. Just a really fun looking, cool Swoop. That will wrap up episode 4, or week 4, of Moonbase 84's year-long celebration of 40 years of Grimlock and the Dinobots. Comment to let me know what you think of Swoop, or the animated Dinobots in general, or anything that's on your mind. And as always, thanks for docking.